pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Thank you very much, and we have some proclamations for tonight. So can I have the Crisis Center of Comal County, anybody that's here, come on up. Come on up. This one's working, correct?
It should. I mean, they all were working earlier today. And now it's working.
I'm going to speak really loudly. Will that work?
So I don't know. I don't know.
Flexibility, hey, it works. Flexibility is the key to air power and council meetings as well. All right, a proclamation. Whereas Sexual Assault Awareness Month calls attention to the fact that sexual violence is widespread and impacts every person in the community. Sexual Assault Awareness Month aims to raise public awareness about sexual violence and educate communities about how to prevent it. And Garden Ridge residents who are sexual assault survivors are valued members of the community as employees, volunteers, business owners, loving family members, friends, and role models. And since 2001, Sexual Assault Awareness Month has been recognized annually during the month of April, and during this 24th anniversary, we as a community will continue to raise public awareness and educate our residents on prevention against sexual violence. And the Crisis Center of Comal County has served countless survivors of sexual assault and has provided wraparound services, staff, and volunteers for 38 years. And the Crisis Center of Comal County and other prevention-related programs in this county encourage every person to speak out when witnessing acts of violence, however small, and speak up when they hear others making light of sexual violence, stereotypes, or gender bias. And with leadership, dedication, and encouragement, there is compelling evidence that we can be successful in reducing sexual violence in our community through prevention education, increased awareness, and holding perpetrators who commit acts of violence responsible for their actions. And we strongly support the efforts of national, state, and local partners and of every resident to actively engage in public and private efforts, including conversations about what sexual violence is, how to prevent it, how to help survivors connect with services, and how every segment of our society can work together to better address sexual violence. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Rob Erickson, Mayor of Garden Ridge, Texas, do hereby proclaim April 2025 in the city of Garden Ridge as Sexual Assault Awareness Month. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
We'll turn it over to you. Introduce yourself to everybody, and please, the microphone is yours.
Hi, I am Jamie with the Crisis Center of Comal County. And first, we want to thank you, Garden Ridge City Council, for this important proclamation as we recognize Sexual Assault Awareness Month. Sexual violence is a deeply traumatic experience that impacts people of all ages, genders, and backgrounds. At the Crisis Center of Comal County, we stand beside survivors with compassion and care. In 2024, we supported 944 clients, including 58 survivors who received sexual assault nurse exams and 93 who engaged in trauma-informed counseling. Our 24/7 hotline answered over 1,000 calls, offering a lifeline to those in crisis. Thanks to the dedication of our team and the generosity of our community, we provided more than 24,000 individualized services last year, double what we provided in 2023. And with our new shelter opening in early 2026, we will be able to serve even more survivors and families fleeing violence. If you or someone you know needs support, or if you'd like to get involved, please visit us at crisiscenternb.org. Thank you again for helping us shine a light on this critical issue. We also left our brochures over on the table with the other agenda that lets you know all of the services we offer, as well as a postcard about our upcoming gala, a fundraising gala. So if y'all will just grab one on your way out, that would be great. Thank y'all again so much.
Oh, yes.
Hi, I'm Amparo Vasquez.
And I'm Rita Hill.
Thank you so much. Pictures, yes. Okay. Thank you so much. Our pleasure. Thank you. Okay, Children's Advocacy Center of Comal County. Come on up. I love the shirts. How are you? It's good to see you again.
Good to see you as
It's been a
well.
while.
Thank you.
Come on up. Everybody. Yeah, we can round about here too. There we go. All right, a proclamation. Whereas there were 53,543 confirmed victims of child abuse and neglect in Texas during 2024, with 226 of those being children in Comal County. And the Children's Advocacy Center of Comal County received 1,068 reports of child physical and/or sexual abuse and completed 338 forensic interviews in 2024. And child abuse prevention is a community responsibility, and finding solutions depends on involvement among all people. And communities must make every effort to promote programs that benefit children and their families. And effective child abuse prevention programs succeed because of partnerships among agencies, schools, religious organizations, law enforcement agencies, and the business community and cities. And everyone in the community should become more aware of child abuse prevention and encourage parents to raise their children in a safe, nurturing environment. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Rob Erickson, Mayor of Garden Ridge, Texas, do hereby proclaim April 2025 in the city of Garden Ridge as Child Abuse Prevention and Awareness Month. Thank you. Okay. Good to see you again. The floor is yours and the microphone, and everybody gets to introduce
All
themselves.
right, awesome. All right, I don't want to mess up with your microphone, so I'm not going to touch it. But I'm Stacy Dufer. I'm the Executive Director of the Children's Advocacy Center of Comal County, and I am joined by some pretty incredible team members here, including the City of Garden Ridge Police Department. We are very thankful for the services that they provide to Comal County. I'm just going to throw out a quick stat for you that I heard the other day that was alarming. Garden Ridge is predominantly CISD, is that correct? Comal ISD? Okay, all Comal ISD? Okay, so next year they're projecting 30,514 children enrolled in Comal ISD next year. If the stats prove 1 in 10 children will be sexually abused by the time they turn 18, that means 3,051 Comal ISD children will be sexually abused by the time they turn 18. That's a huge number. But take heart, agencies like all of us up here and the Garden Ridge Police Department are here to help and be there for them when that occurs. That's all I got for you guys.
My name's Natalie Lopez. I'm the Clinical Director for the Children's Advocacy Center of Comal County.
Good afternoon. My name is Kane Jaggers. I'm the Senior Regional Director for SGRC Texas Belong. Belong, along with DFPS, work to oversee the foster care system here in Comal County and Guadalupe County, as well as 26 other rural counties surrounding there. It's very important to note that our work does not just fall within the child welfare system, but we work to improve the well-being for all children and families right here in our communities.
I'm Kristen Evans, and I am actually the supervisor for Child Protective Services for investigations for Comal and Kendall County.
I am Megan Sparks. I'm with the Children's Advocacy Center of Comal County. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Rob Edwards. I'm the Director of Quality and Compliance with CASA of Central Texas. I just want to start off by saying thank you to the City of Garden Ridge for the proclamation declaring this Child Abuse Awareness Month. That, along with the help of our wonderful community partners, has really helped spreading the message so that we can bring that number down in this county and statewide. In the 4-county area that CASA of Central Texas serves, We served 392 children in the past year, out of 493 children that were served within our 4-county area, meaning that volunteers were appointed to over 90% or over 80% of the children that were had cases open within the county. CASA is a volunteer-run organization where we train and empower volunteers to provide advocacy for children while they're in state care. And if you have any interest in becoming a volunteer, helping children see their way through an entire case from start to finish, we are more than happy to have you on board and train you up and get you out there to help bring that number down. Thank you very much.
I'm Elizabeth Fowler. I'm also with CASA of Central Texas.
Another round of applause. Awesome. To both agencies, thank you for what you guys do for our communities and our kids and everybody. So thank you so much. You got a great name, by the way. Thank you very much, you too. Okay, one more. Miss Linda and team. Everybody, come on up. Yay. All right, a third proclamation in April. Whereas libraries provide the opportunity for everyone to pursue their passions and engage in lifelong learning, allowing them to live their best life. And libraries have long served as trusted institutions for all members of the community, regardless of race, ethnicity, creed, ability, sexual orientation, gender identity, or socioeconomic status. And libraries strive to develop and maintain programs and collections that are as diverse as the populations they serve and ensure equity of access for all. And libraries adapt to the ever-changing needs of their communities, continually expanding, hopefully more in the future, their collections, services, and partnerships. And libraries play a critical role in the economic vitality of communities by providing internet and technology access, literacy skills, and support for job seekers, small businesses, and entrepreneurs. And libraries are accessible and inclusive places that promote a sense of local connection, advancing understanding, civic engagement, and shared community goals. And libraries are cornerstones of democracy, promoting the free exchange of information and ideas for all. And libraries, librarians, and library workers, and our big team here at Garden Ridge, are joining library supporters and advocates across the nation to celebrate National Library Week. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Rob Erickson, Mayor of Garden Ridge, Texas, do hereby proclaim April 6th through the 12th, 2025 in the city of Garden Ridge as National Library Week. Yay. Floor is yours.
Well, I'm Linda Crossland. I've been here forever, but I want you to, because I love Garden Ridge and I love my little library, I want you to meet some of my team. If you don't already know, this is Wendy Bippert. She's the most awesome assistant library director you could ever hope for. She's probably one of the first people you see when you come in, and her voice is the last one you'll hear as you leave when she says, "Have a wonderful day." I can't emphasize too much how important she is in making our library all it can be. These people up here are just a few of our we're down to about 14 volunteers. They're going to introduce themselves in a minute and tell you about whatever they need to tell you. And there's another one back there. She's hiding. These volunteers donate thousands. They have since the beginning of Garden Ridge. They have donated thousands of hours to the city, saved money, because time is a really valuable commodity. I'm finding more and more, and they have generously given that time. And we believe that time should be spent wisely. Now, some people are thinking that libraries are disappearing. They're not as important as they used to be. But to paraphrase Mark Twain, The reports of the demise of libraries is greatly exaggerated. Yes, more people are turning to digital now. Some of us older people are not afraid to punch buttons anymore, and they found out you can make the font bigger and so forth. But in the last couple of decades, libraries have reinvented themselves, ourselves. We've become more, we've moved from transactional to relational. We strongly advocate, of course, for reading and for childhood literacy, but we've embraced the idea that we can and should be a center for our community. It's a place for people to gather, to share their enthusiasms, their hobbies, and so forth. We are for leisure, for learning, and for life. And I want to thank the mayor and each council member for your support through the years. Now, you all introduce yourselves.
As Miss Linda said, I'm Wendy Bippert, and we all know that Miss Linda is the heart of the library.
Oh, you're so sweet. She's very tall for her height.
I'm Peggy Campbell, and I'm not sure how many of our residents really know what a valuable resource our library is. I would hope that during this week of Library Week that everyone would at least make one visit to the library and see how wonderful these ladies are, the programs they have, and what a fun place the library really is.
Hi, I'm Suzanne Gregory. I've lived here since 1995 and have been volunteering since 2007. And some of the many things that I have done is I've helped people find their way down 3009 to wherever they needed to go or back towards 35. I've also helped people work on the computer. And we don't have a fax machine, and that's asked for a lot. We might need one.
Well, I'm Malcolm Grossland. Since I'm married to the library director, she calls me her #1 volunteer.
Another round of applause. Marissa, is this staying here?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, moving on. That closes out item number 3. Item number 4, citizens' comment period. We are listening and taking notes, but we can't comment on what you are saying. So first person to speak is David Hatch.
Good evening, David Hatch, 8377 Twisted Oaks. There are 2 leading macroeconomic indicators of a coming recession. The rate of mortgages in default and auto loans 90 days in arrears. Mortgage rate defaults of all types are up to 3.98% in Q4 of 2024 versus a rate of 2.89 in Q4 2023. 90-day auto loan delinquencies are up to 4.8%, up from 3.7% same quarters 2023-2024. These are huge increases. There's a coming recession, and we are asking the city to plan on the recession and adjust its finances accordingly, restrict spending to absolute essentials, and rebuild the reserve fund. This is not going to be a fun time. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Don Hatch. Thank you, Don. The floor is yours.
Dawn Hatch, 8377 Twisted Oaks. Respectfully, David and I believe in the principles that uphold our community, which are accountability, integrity, and trust. These principles contain two critical commitments: adherence to the law and being accountable. With concerns about these commitments, we filed 10 ethic violations against a city council member. Being accountable is the backbone of trust, the measure of integrity. It means owning your decisions, your actions, and when you fall short, there are consequences. When information is withheld or when processes are obscured, trust is eroded. Also important is commitment to follow the laws we've agreed to uphold. Ordinances, statutes, and ethical codes set the boundary of what's acceptable. When boundaries are crossed, whether by negligence or intentionally, there must be consequences. When elected officials bend rules, overlook regulations, or act outside their authority, it breaks the law and the public's trust. In the future, we call on council to enforce the law consistently, investigate violations thoroughly, and ensure justice is served. We call on council to lead by example, uphold the legal standards you've sworn to protect, and enforce them consistently, and address any violations impartially, and do not shield yourselves. There's an election for mayor next month. Ms. Swint, a council member, seeks this office while under the shadow of an unresolved ethics complaint. It's not gossip or a political smear or a personal grievance. It's a formal injustice that standards were violated that we expect officials to uphold. One complaint was rectified by stripping her title of Mayor Pro Tem and that title given to another council member. Because the rest of the violations won't be explored, a shadow looms over her standing. Our city deserves a mayor that steps into that role with a clean record. Unfavorable habits should not be voted in nor carried forward from anyone's current role. How can we believe she will act with integrity as mayor when her actions as a council member indicate otherwise? If council dismisses ethic complaints, what message is sent? That it's okay to skirt the rules? That misconduct doesn't matter if you're already in office? We call on future mayors and council to commit to accountability and to follow the laws and prove that no one is exempt from its reach. We expect it in our federal, state, and county governments. Why shouldn't we expect it at the city level also? Sincerely, David and Dawn Hatch.
Thank you, Dawn. That is all the people we have signed up to speak. So that concludes item number 4, citizen comment period. On to item number 5, the consent agenda. These items may be acted upon in a single motion. No separate discussion or action on these items will be held unless requested by a council member. Public comment on these items may be heard during citizens' participation. However, that does not mean the item will be considered outside the consent agenda. Council, does anybody have anything they want to pull from the consent agenda? No? Okay. If nobody has anything they want to pull, can I have a motion to approve?
Move to approve the consent agenda.
We have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion to approve and a second. Any further discussion? We'll call it to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Consent agenda passes. Thanks, council. Concludes item number 6 on or item number 5 on item number 6, staff reports. And may I introduce our new city manager for 6A, Mr. Ryan Rapley, in his first council meeting in the city of Garden Ridge. Literally his first rodeo here. So welcome. Round of applause. Mr. Rapley, the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. Excuse me. Let's check to see if this one is operating. Thank you, Mayor and Council. I'll try to speak loud as well. I appreciate it. Like I mentioned at the last council meeting, I appreciate your support in hiring me as city manager, and I look forward to many council meetings, many projects getting done. I know I have big shoes to fill with Nancy and everything, so I hope to move things forward at the best interest of the city of Garden Ridge. So I know that there was typically a city manager report, and from my standpoint, I'm going to try to mirror those things for a while, and it may change and augment as we move forward through different council meetings. But I'm hoping to be transparent and provide you all the best update that y'all need, and the citizens as well. So I would like to say I'm available, and if anybody needs anything from me, don't hesitate to contact me directly. I'd be happy to discuss my thoughts, my experiences, and as the mayor said, this is my first rodeo, but not my first rodeo anywhere else. So, but my first rodeo at Garden Ridge. So I feel like I've been through a lot of rodeos. So, but look forward to this one. So, but as far as the city manager monthly activity report, I understand there's city employee recognitions. I know Cindy has a video there. Is that what we run first, Cindy? And that is recognizing Cindy Simmons. There we go. As she cues up her own video, 1 year. Ruben Macias, 1 year. And then Shannon Del Toro of 11 years. So we appreciate all their work and what they do for the city of Garden Ridge. Thank you. I understand that moving forward, there's letters from residents that compliment city services. These just happen to be 2 from the police departments. So we hope to increase that to other departments, but right now it's just police. So, dear Assistant Chief Daniel Bellinger, I want to personally thank Officer Carlos Rivera for his kindness and professionalism when he and many others responded to my urgent 911 call to my husband on March 25th, 2025. Officer Rivera calmly assessed the situation and was patient with me when I could not find my husband's wallet, which contained his personal information, license, etc., while at the same time he was totally focused on all emergency responders and my husband while waiting to keep calm. The wonderful news is my husband was discharged from the hospital on March 27, 2025, and is in the process of developing life-saving plans with medical professionals. Once again, from my heart, I thank Officer Carlos Rivera, the Bracken Volunteer Fire Department, EMS, and the Schertz Fire and EMS Station Number 2 emergency responders for all they do to save my dear husband's life. Sincerely, Debbie, Garden Ridge, Texas. And this is addressed, Sergeant McKenzie, thank you so much for your excellent response. Carol and Terry Armstrong, 9408 Azalea Gate, Garden Ridge, Texas. So I think that covers the police department. So in the future, huh? Yeah, all right. I would make a reference that nobody puts that officer in the corner, so. But he already is, so. And I didn't say baby, so. But we appreciate your service, and thank you, Chief. Thank you, Officer Rivera. Appreciate it very much. Like I said, I hope we have many more comments, positive responses, and salutations towards the rest of our city services and our employees moving forward. So, thank you. Volunteer Garden Ridge, I understand there's a compiling of hours, which I don't have available. I think within the activity report from the departments, it kind of illustrates some of the hours totals. And then in there's the event center reports, building permits, citizen input, upcoming events. So if you all have any questions, please let me know. Be happy to get that information. I know it's in the packet as well. So.
That was outstanding for your first rodeo here in Garden Ridge. Council, anything? Are you finished, Ryan? I'm not trying to interrupt you. But,
yes, Mayor.
Okay, awesome. Council, anything for Ryan on his first meeting with us? Great.
Just want to say happy to have you. Looking forward to the future.
Thank you.
We're very lucky to have a person of Ryan's intellect, educational background, and work experience here in Garden Ridge, especially with his network. If you know somebody that works in and around the local San Antonio area in municipal government, he or she knows Ryan and he knows them. So we're very lucky to have you, all joking aside, and I've really enjoyed working with you these last 2 weeks. and he's hit the ground running, and he's getting out there and meeting with council, meeting with all the city department heads and volunteers and employees, and we're just excited. Like I've said before, we're excited for the future and have you at the helm.
Well, I appreciate it. Like I said, it's day 7, so I think I
great.
promised somebody I'd get something done on day 6, but it is day 7, so
Good to go. Good to go.
thank you.
One of the things that usually the city manager announces is the next First Friday. So we've got First Friday, this Friday, in a couple days, Paul Davis Park, from 5:30. The time has changed because of daylight savings, 5:30 to 7:30. We've got Paul Duke with live music. We've got a number of Easter egg hunts, right, that Cindy has put together. We're going to start that around 6. Is that about right? And the Boy Scouts, Troop 828, are going to be cooking burgers and dogs again. So come on out and celebrate an early Easter with us. And my last First Friday as mayor. So that's going to be rough, but come on out and let's have a party. So awesome. Anything else that we're missing? Great. On to item number 6B, Finance and HR. Ms. Robin, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening. I just have a couple of HR updates. We have our own Andrew Klein, Public Works. He's been here for about a couple of years, who applied for, interviewed, and transferred into that utility operator position as of this week. So we have a full staff of water employees. We actually have done some interviews for a Public Works rep to replace replace Andrew. And we have made a conditional offer. We're waiting on response on that. And we should be starting interviewing for our utility clerk positions by next week. We have received quite a number of applications, and after going through those have narrowed down to our top candidates, so we're going to be reaching out to start the interviewing process for that. And we just have that one police position still vacant, and that's all I have for this evening.
That's great, Robin. I know nobody's more excited about the interview process for the utility clerk than Marissa and Cindy and Michelle, right?
Yes, Michelle.
So,
Yes.
that's great. Council, anything for Robin? She'll be on a little bit later here, too. Thank you. 6C, City Secretary Monthly Report. The microphone guru.
We won't say it, but
Floor is yours.
They're all placed, and we're not going to say what they're doing and not doing because we don't
Doing
want to
great.
jinx it. So just a couple things that I want to highlight on my report is we have an upcoming holiday. City Hall will be closed on Friday, April 18th. And then, as most people know, an election is coming up. So early voting will be conducted at City Hall on April 22nd through 25th from 8 to 5, and April 28th through 29th from 7 to 7. Election day is May 3rd from 7 to 7. And then the League of Women Voters will be hosting and moderating a live candidate forum on Wednesday, April 16th at the Community and Event Center. The doors open at 6 p.m. and the forum begins at 6:30. So for any of our residents interested to hear from all of the candidates in the Garden Ridge election, you're more than welcome to go to that. From what I understand, they plan to record it and be able to upload it online later. But as we all know, technology doesn't always work. So if you're available to come that night, I would highly suggest you do that if you're interested. And that is all that I have.
Thanks, Marissa. Council, anything for Marissa? All right, moving on. Chief, 6D, you're up.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Everything's in my report. I just want to emphasize a little bit. We did have, technically it was April, but we did have our Citizen Police Academy graduate class last night. So we had 29 residents graduate from the academy. It was great. And tomorrow night is our Pizza with the Police right here in this room. So those are the immediate functions we have going on. We also have upcoming classes for Refuse to be a Victim, CRAZE, and ASIC. So if anybody's interested in those, hadn't taken them, they're great classes. Get a hold of Jill. We'll get you signed up. They're also here on Saturdays. And don't forget our pancake breakfast coming in June. That's all I've got, sir.
Outstanding, Chief. Thank you. Please.
I just wanted to send my compliments to the police department on how well the police academy was put together and run. I had a blast. It was just a ton of fun. I learned a lot, and I highly recommend that everybody on this dais who hasn't attended, and everybody out there who hasn't attended, I see a graduate out there, give it a shot. It's a lot of fun every 2 years. So mark your calendars for 2 years from now. You'll hear about it, I'm sure, but it was awesome.
Thank you.
You did a good job. You said had a blast and give it a shot because you got to shoot the gun, right? Good job. All right. Yay. Council, anything else for our chief? Thanks, chief. On to 6E, Public Works Department. Stephen, the floor is yours, sir.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I have a few things to highlight from March. We had ongoing repairs of asphalt repairs on Old Nacogdoches. Installed 5 new engraved bricks at Paul Davis Park flag area. Dumpsters are back in April again. Eric took some ethics for code enforcement and cities and free speech webinars, and took a train air conditioning controls class. Currently have no dogs ready for adoption, but we have one currently being housed. And that's it for the public works side.
Thank you, Stephen. Leave the picture of the dog up there for a little bit. It's beautiful. Okay, Jesse.
I have a shout out to, since, Public Works been covered earlier, but I picked up a animal trap on Monday, and picked up trapped a raccoon on Tuesday and this morning, and Ryan picked them up, so thank you for Ryan for taking care of those.
Do you and Linda need a dog?
No.
No? Okay.
Have enough with the
Okay.
other animals around the house.
Okay.
Raccoons, squirrels.
All right. Moving on. Stephen, the floor is still yours.
Okay, for utilities, we pumped 15.62 acre feet out of the Edwards with a year-to-date total of 39.20. Edwards is still in stage 4 restrictions. We are in stage 2. Trinity, we pumped 54.16 acre feet with a year-to-date total of 119.30. All water quality samples were passed. Water loss was 1.8%. And we had 329 work orders completed, no main breaks reported, 3 new requests for leak adjustments, 1 approved, 2 denied. 1 approved was for $249.22. That's all I have for utilities.
Thank you, Stephen. Council, anything for Stephen on utilities? Lisa?
I just have a little water update about a couple of bills that are going on that might be of interest. Senate Joint Resolution 66, this is all under the Texas Water Development Board. I mean, they're obviously great concern about the water shortage that is going on. So Senate Joint Resolution 66 is asking for $1 billion a year for 16 years. And that is, the difference between the House bill and the Senate bill is the Senate bill is splitting the funds, where 80% of the funds will go to finding new water supplies. And while our city is great about leakage, there are other cities that, that leaky pipes everywhere. So the House bill is asking for $1 billion over 10 years, and it gives the Texas Water Development Board discretion over how to use those funds. But again, they had this training up at the Capitol, and I'm always, and I don't remember the percentage, maybe you do, Jesse, but I'm always shocked to hear about how much water we lose through leaky pipes. But obviously, it's a huge issue. They're predicting great municipal shortages, by 2030. So we're just kind of following those two.
Thank you. That's great information. Anybody else? Awesome. Thanks, Stephen. On to 6F, Library Monthly Report. Miss Linda? Floor is yours, ma'am.
Well, good evening again. First, next Monday, April 7th, there will be a meeting of the Friends of Garden Ridge Library. These are for people who have joined. it's not really a social, it's a business meeting, which is required by the bylaws of that organization. It'll be at 6 o'clock. There will be some light refreshments, but it won't take the place of Night with Friends in June, where you get to sip a little wine and socialize and pay your dues. The following week is our preschool Easter Bunny story time, followed by an Easter egg hunt. That's on April 11th. Now, we've been doing this 13 or 14 years, but it's good that now our children will have 2 times to have an Easter egg hunt in Garden Ridge. These are just the little guys, and it's really fun to watch them toddle around looking for eggs. They're adorable. And the third Thursday is a lunch and learn. The topic is rain barrels and wicking gardens. This is April 17th at noon. The 2 men who are doing this not only will talk about rain barrels, they're going to set up a workshop. They will actually help people make their rain barrels. And I think, this is another great opportunity for the citizens of Garden Ridge to learn some things, especially as we're facing more and more drought conditions. This is about the 3rd one now that's really been helpful. And then, of course, we have 24 other regular activities during the month of April.
Guys are busy. Rock stars.
Yeah.
Thank you, Miss Linda. Council, anything for Linda? Okay. Outstanding. That closes out item number 6. On to item number 7. City engineer projects and status reports. Mr. Hank, it's good to see you. Hit the green button, hitting the button there, it turns green, and life is good. The floor is yours.
All right, there we are. I'd like to start with, there was a lot that happened this last month. I would like to praise Dwayne and Public Works with the receiving of some casing that we got. It was 24-inch casing that was, we undersized. It was basically didn't match the as-built months ago on the project. So we had to order larger casing. Well, there's this other casing sitting around. Contractor misplaced it and basically said 3 weeks ago, it'll be there tomorrow at noon. So we called them and they were able to receive it and be able to store it in a safe place so we can use it on a future project. I really am thankful for them doing that. It was while Stephen was out too. So just very, very thankful for Dwayne and the crew doing that. There was a little bit of movement on 2252. It really was the approval of the change order that basically brought back a line item for remobilization for the contractor. The casing, if that was, he had an option to either deduct that or provide it to us. He provided it to us. So it was for a little positive, a slight increase in the cost of the project, I believe by $20,000 or so. But the casing we'll be able to use on a future project on the SAWS emergency interconnect. So that's good. We're going to get good use out of it, at least. The SAWS emergency interconnect project, we're close to complete with the legal review. The next steps from there will be to once we go back and forth with whatever comments come from legal, we will get that signed. I believe it's by mayor. And then what we need to do is decide on a connection point. So there's some moving parts on the connection point. There could be some development that pulls the water line a little closer to where we want to connect in. So that's the piece that I have to work out through with SAWS before we just say we're going all the way near the school. So with that, then those 2 pieces solved, it will go in front of the board and go through 2 rounds with them. So it's going to be a few months process through this. But that's kind of the next steps that we go from here.
Hank, before you go on, Natalie and or Ryan, do you have any comments with the legal review?
I think from a legal standpoint and comments, they were minimal from Natalie. So there shouldn't be any reason why it's on next month's agenda moving forward.
Yeah, comments were minimal. Part of the agreement, though, does identify the point of connection, and so I don't know on the engineer side whether that's going to be done before that's executed, but as it's written currently, it does identify the point of entry. prior to execution. So unless we want to amend the agreement, which we can do, I would imagine, that will need to be worked out from the legal standpoint because it's incorporated in.
Awesome, thank you. Hank, does that all check with you?
I believe that would have to be an attachment on it, but I'll talk with the
Yeah, I
city
think
manager on
between
Monday.
myself,
Okay.
Hank, and Natalie, we'll hammer it out and make sure it's here next month.
Okay, great. I'd given the city the goal of 30 April to have everything that we can complete for this project done, and so we're going to meet that goal and sign it. So everything for us is done in May's agenda, and then hopefully it's back in Saw's court, but we can start to construct and execute before the end of the fiscal year. So, which is the goal. So, and water's the new gold, as we know. Okay, Hank, not stealing your thunder. Keep going.
Not a problem. There is a new project on here, the municipal ground storage tank rehab project. That's, as it sounds, we're going to be rehabilitating that with the approved funds that we had from back in October, and keep it moving along until we can find some more funds for either a larger ground storage tank or replacing of the same size. The plan is to start construction on that once it gets a little colder out so that we can drain that tank and do the work that we need to do. From land development, I have not heard from the Revival since sending comments back out on the 21st, so still waiting for their response. And I think I'll leave it there, unless if there's any further questions for me.
Thanks, Hank. Council, anything for our city engineer? Good job. You've been busy this last month. Thanks.
Thank you.
Hank, can you touch on the Bat Cave, because that's part of the budget amendment?
Sure. So, in coordination with Mr. Steven Steinmetz, we went and took a look at Bat Cave Road and looked at the options on what we could do. Would it be basically what's happening for background of it is Comal County is coming in on their sections of Bat Cave that they own and resurfacing. So we looked at options. Well, can we, what would the cost be if we came in and did basically a similar type of resurfacing that they did? Would it even be worth doing an option of a ripping out, removing and putting a new surface on, or a full reconstruction of the road? Full reconstruction was quite cost prohibitive at this point, potentially. Through the quotes that we got, it came to be around, with engineering fee, all things included, around $2 million. So that would be the full reconstruction, and some drainage improvements for some known drainage issues that we're having near the intersection of Schoenthal Road. So there was a little more addition on it than just the road reconstruction. It's kind of a drainage improvement as well. But the resurfacing came in just under 500, 475. That would be for engineering, and there's some contingency in there as well. So that's a very conservative number. We want to make sure that we were getting that right if we were doing a resurfacing. Now, with just a surfacing on top, you may not fix your drainage issues. You're going to have some lows that may still have problems. You may still have ponding on the upside of the road. You may have water still rushing across in ways that you don't want near Schoenthal Road's intersection. So those are some things to consider when you're going in and just putting it on top. But it would match what Comal County's doing, and then we would also restripe with that pricing.
Thank you, Hank. Ryan, did that answer your questions? Great. Or not questions, but comments?
Yeah, I can add
Jesse?
something to that. Last summer is when I talked to Tom Horsat, who's the county administrator, to find out that they were repaving this. And at that point, I asked them, would they do our section as well if we paid them? And no, they use it internally. It's an internal system they use. It's not a contract out, so that was an option for us. That's why we have to go this way.
Thanks, Jesse. Council, anything else for Hank? Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thanks. That concludes item number 7. On to item number 8, City Commission Committee Reports, Recommendations, Possible Actions. 8A is Planning and Zoning. They did not meet in the month of March, so there's no report. And 8B, Mr. Bill Pohl is the chair. 8B, with the Water Commission, 8B1, receive recommendation and take action on request to appeal water loss adjustment denial for 8914 Comanche Path for the billing period of December 20th, 2024 through 23 January 2025. We have received notice that that request to appeal has been taken back. They no longer are there, so I don't think it's something that we need to brief tonight. So, and we can just proceed on with the summation of the Water Commission meeting, other than the request to appeal, since they took it back. They don't want to appeal it.
Understand, Mayor. City Council, good evening. Really, the one item to cover is that the commission continued its review of possible changes to Ordinance 61. This is specifically regarding the creation of a special variance process for new landscaping. We conducted a first draft review, got input from the commissioners, from the city. It's back on me to redraft it, and we're just going to continue to do this and hammer it back and forth until we think we have something that's ready to present. Be glad to answer any questions.
Council, anything for Bill Pohl, Water Commission?
Great.
Thank you, sir. I know that was quicker than you thought it was going to be.
Yeah,
so
I was prepared to go on.
It's a fast-changing ball game, right?
Thank you.
Thanks so much. Okay, that concludes item number 8. On to item number 9, approvals and authorizations. The following items are for discussion, consideration, and action. Council, we've asked the retail coach and Mr. Nick Albrecht to come up and give us basically a quarterly update, as we're 1 quarter into our yearly contract with the retail coach. Nick, it's good to see you.
You too.
Things are good?
Yeah, things are great.
Busy?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Definitely busy.
Good. The
Well,
floor.
first of all,
go ahead. Floor's yours, sir. I'll stop
First
talking.
of all, thank you guys for having me here. Like mentioned, my name is Nick Albrecht. I'm with the Retail Coach, and we've been partnered with the City of Garden Ridge for a couple of months now. But really wanted to kick off this update by reminding and going through, for those that don't know, a little bit about what we do. So at the Retail Coach, we help communities identify new retail opportunities. We actively recruit those retailers to their community, and then we coach them on a long-term basis to ensure success. So with the City of Garden Ridge, we wanted to put a point of emphasis on what the citizens of the community want. That's something that we think is very important, and we want to make sure that we tailor our efforts in accordance to that. So in order to get an idea of that, we conducted a survey, went on for about a month, I believe, and in that survey we asked questions regarding retail, about where people shopped, how much they spent, where they left to shop, and so on and so forth. So I'll go through these real quick right here so everyone can see. So the first question we asked was, how much does your family spend each month on retail and restaurant purchases? The overwhelming majority came in at over 40% at $500 or more. So there's definitely a demand for retail, which is good from an outside perspective looking in. The next question we asked was, what types of retailers would you like to see more of in Garden Ridge, i.e. sit-down restaurants, clothing, grocers, etc. The overwhelming majority came in at 80%, over 80% for sit-down restaurants, and then following the restaurant industry, fast casual was behind that, and that would be your Panera Bread, Chipotle, Torchy's, stuff like that. And grocery was pretty strong at 37%, and then there was a large category that selected other, which we will get to in a second. But the other question we asked was, what other areas or communities do you shop in? Shirts came in at number 1, being how close it is, and then the areas surrounding Shirts, outside San Antonio, Cibolo, Selma, Live Oak, and then San Antonio itself came in strong, pretty much right on par with New Braunfels. A little bit of San Marcos in there as well, which I would assume to be the outlet malls. And then right here we get to the other category. So if someone selected this category, it was a fill-in option, and so we call this a word graph, and it's correlated with the frequency that a word or phrase was entered. And the more it was entered, the larger it will be. So restaurants popped up as the largest, and everything else filled in accordingly around it. But you can see that there's a lot of insight into what people are thinking with groceries, anything nice, Trader Joe's, Panera, wine bar, etc. So it serves as a good point to see what the people of the community are thinking. So the next part that I wanted to highlight was the first initial round we do from our standpoint is a market analysis of Garden Ridge, and that largely includes demographics. And so what I'm going to highlight here is a 5, 10, and 15-minute drive time and go through some of the demographics that we found in those areas. Starting with the 5-minute drive time, this is pretty much going to be the people within your city limits. So I would like to highlight your average household income, which is outstanding at almost $175,000, which, you know, we don't see that very often. That's pretty high, and so we're happy to see that. And when you zoom out 5 minutes, you lose a little bit of that household income, drops to still a very good $139,000, but you gain a lot of population, about 20,000 up to 22,000. And then zooming out furthermore to the 15-minute drive time, this is where you really start to grab a large group of people. You're touching a little bit of New Braunfels, Spring Branch, Schertz, and even inside Loop 1604 in the Live Oak area. So your population jumps way up to 105,000. And again, you lose some of the average household income, but it's still at 117. So all of these numbers look really good from our point of view. It's hard to get a 15-minute drive time with that high of population and that high of a household income. So we're pleased with these results and wanted to highlight in front of you guys. So the next part of our process is identifying sites, vacancies, and potential highest and best uses locations for retail, restaurant development, et cetera, in the community. We've begun engaging with property owners on that front, talking about those potential sites, what might be good. And on top of that, we've been taking into consideration what people think would be the best use for that and what they'd like to see, because again, we want to really drive home the point that our goal is to deliver what the community wants above all else. So we also have just begun outreach on the recruitment side of said retail. Over our 25 years of existence as a company, we've been able to develop some very long-standing and deep relationships with national, but also regional and local retailers and restaurants, brokers, developers, and that's allowed us to efficiently get in touch with them, get in front of them, and present them with some of the data and some of the opportunities here. And we've received some initial very good feedback. A lot of interest has been generated initially, and development, and especially in the form of retail, can take a while. It's not an overnight process. So from what we've seen so far, we're pretty pleased and we're excited for the potential. So continuing with the recruitment aspect, we represent all of our clients at trade shows throughout the year, where this is really just a deal-making, speed dating shop. So we've already had the chance to represent Garden Ridge at ICSC Red River in Dallas back in January, which Councilmember Kelly Smith was able to attend with us. We had a great time, a lot of good conversations, and a lot of good follow-up leads have come from that, and a lot of potential. So we're happy with that. And then furthermore, throughout the year, we have ICSC Vegas coming up in May, which is a big one. It's our biggest one of the year. It's extremely national. Pretty much anyone that is a player on any sort of somewhat large scale will be there. And then we have Retail Live in August of 2025 in Austin, Texas, both of which we will be representing Garden Ridge at. And lastly, I wanted to touch on the coaching and ongoing support aspect. So like it says right there, we become a part of your team. We act as an extension of you. We act in your best interest, and we use our, again, relationships, expertise, and resources to support you in all aspects that you need. Make sure everyone is adequately informed, and if they need anything, we're at their disposal. So that's about all I have for you tonight, but again, I'm excited for what we're seeing in Garden Ridge, and I hope everyone here has been informed by some of the data that we've been able to show, and is excited as we are. So, thank you.
Thanks, Nick. Appreciate you being here, and really good job.
Thank you.
Council, any comments, questions for Nick?
Great job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good data.
Brian, go ahead.
Yeah, so based on the data and what you've seen, have we discovered anything different than what we knew before, I guess, involving some of I guess when the surveys were turned in, it sounds like a lot of people, based on who submitted surveys, were looking at restaurants. were they looking at, does it tell you what type of restaurants they were looking at? Is it more of a family-oriented, like a mom and pop restaurant, or was it like a franchise, or what did the data tell you on the restaurants?
Oh yeah, that's a great question. What we heard from the surveys, but also have just heard word of mouth, is that no one really wants, you know, your stereotypical fast food or lower end retail. And so we agree with that. We think, and what we've heard is that the higher end, more of a I don't want to use the word destination per se, but something that will draw people in, that's family oriented, has a lot of outdoor green space and an opportunity to really spend a few hours with the family, both in dining, shopping, and a little bit of experience as well. All right, thank you guys.
Are we on? Hey, it worked. Okay. Thanks again, Nick. Hey, is this your first trip to Vegas? He's already talking. My guess is yes. All right. Yeah. It's Maggie's age. On to item number 9B. Actually, Council, anything discussed out of that? Sorry.
No, great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Awesome. 9B, ordinance number 24404-2025, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Garden Ridge, Texas, adopting City Council policies regarding decorum and process, providing a cumulative and savings clause, providing for severability, and declaring an effective date. So before I turn it over to Natalie, who's already right here, Council, what we talked about in March was giving Natalie the go-ahead to continue to put her inputs and comments into our existing ethics ordinance, and other than just corrections, but really comment in there. What she has done through discussion with us and her team is divided our ethics ordinance into two, with process and decorum one and ethics in another. I don't think that there is action for us tonight, but certainly discussion about going forward, and there will be a couple of corrections, obviously, that Natalie and I and Ryan have already talked about. So, Natalie, I'll turn it over to you with that.
Yeah, certainly. Okay, so last time I had my thought when we met and discussed was to focus on one at a time. But as I pondered the process and just kind of wanting to match in alignment with the timeline that everyone that we discussed last time, I decided to run them in tandem and bring them up together, mostly for continuity, but also just so that we can get them, you know, done and accomplished, right? And because, since they were together, it makes a little more sense to maybe talk about them at the same time from like an understanding perspective. So I did ask that Marissa include my original comments in the document so you can see what there originally was, plus all of the comments that I had made on that document. And then you have in front of you both the ordinances split. So my process that I went for this is I went through and I pretty much along the lines of the comments that I'd made on the prior versions, pulled all of the pieces that were process and decorum and really kind of like high level policy in how we go about kind of interacting, or council goes about interacting with each other and staff throughout the process, and put all of that into the decorum ordinance. So everything is covered there that I felt was better suited in decorum and process. So I don't know if anyone has any questions or ideas or thoughts.
Council, any discussion on what Natalie is talking about before we get into more specifics of it? Okay. Keep going.
Okay, cool. So do we want to move to the ethics one, or do we want to stay on decorum? Do we have any other thoughts, ideas, or comments for decorum?
Well, you and I talked about it earlier tonight briefly, and I know that other members of the dais have seen this too, but paragraph 3.12 on the top of page 14, that's a holdover from being general law type A. So when we became a home rule city and a manager council form of government, in a general law type A, the mayor is the CEO of the city. In a home rule, the mayor is not the CEO. The CEO is the manager who reports to the council. So, Natalie, what you and I had kind of talked about is I would strike that entire paragraph there.
Got it.
Okay. Council, any comments on that?
You said 312?
Yeah, it's the third paragraph, 312, at the top of our page 14. And it just says, as the chief executive officer of the city, the mayor or pro tem.
Yep,
I
got
would
that.
I would strike, my comment would be to strike that, yeah, what we have highlighted there.
The entire paragraph, you said?
Yes. And then on paragraph 4.3, I think this may be a holdover as well from general law, the end of the first sentence, and agencies or when sitting as the Board of Appeals or Board of Adjustment. As home rule, we can't sit as board members
Struck.
of the Board of Adjustment.
Yes,
So
sir.
I would strike the end of that sentence. Yeah. Council, any other comments? Okay, with that, you want to move on to ethics then?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so, after I pulled all decorum and process out, I did that first, just so I could have what I was looking at. Actually, last meeting, Chief had recommended me, that I look at the grievance policies that we helped PD adopt to kind of get an idea of how, PD does their grievance policies. So I started there and, tried to kind of get an idea of a good smooth flow, because as we discussed last time about clarity, and clarity being the biggest, I think, driving force between the revisions and just for sake of everybody involved. And so what I really substantively made comment or revision to was in the procedures. So as discussed, I made inquiry and investigation distinct. Because to me, as I was reading through, inquiry and investigation felt too interchangeable to really hammer down one way or the other. So I identified an inquiry as an informal information gathering process, whereas the investigation is something that comes after the inquiry. So it's really clear whose role is what. So it's the mayor's role for the inquiry, or other mayor pro tem if it's against the mayor, for the inquiry, whereas it's council for the investigation. So that was a substantive change I made. I also added a notice provision in the ordinance for the council person that's subject to the complaint. You know, that's a standard due process. Oh my gosh, provision for anything that relates to outside of our, halls, right? So anything criminal is going to have due process. Anything that we encounter, there's notice provisions. You see it with your code enforcement and the like. So I thought that would be a good idea. I just didn't know how many days council felt would be appropriate. I kind of tossed some ideas to myself, and none of them felt quite right. So I just kind of wanted to put it out to everybody to get the body's thoughts on what they feel an appropriate time would be. Because promptly can always happen, but then there becomes interpretation. So that's why I narrowed it down to, let's just pick a day amount.
Council, I have a number in mind, but any thoughts?
I was going to say within 48 hours, but.
Okay, that's not the number I was thinking, but go
Well, I
ahead.
guess my question is, what happens? I guess again, sort of a process question here. We don't have a formal you know, some cities have an online form, right? That you can fill in and submit when you've got a complaint against a council member, employee, whatnot. And they have some instruction there, and they have some timelines associated with their submission. Say you submit this, you'll get a response back in X number of days. So when something is submitted, what happens to it then? I mean, does it go to the, okay, we know it goes to the mayor and mayor pro tem, but does it get reviewed by legal counsel then, or does that happen?
No.
And how is the inquiry, how is the decision
Yeah.
made if there's an inquiry or not? I mean, what standards are there?
Sure. So, how I also added to have it be reported to the city manager as well.
Okay.
Just because the city manager is who is here day to day, and if the city manager is not here, someone will be, you know, vice versa, someone will be here. And so I added 2 people to make sure that, you know, there is overlap in receipt. And then at that point, it ends up being a decision of the mayor and city manager as they go through, and their comfortability with the level of, you know, information that exists to carry it forward, and an evaluation. So I think I see where you're going, and so I thought about that as well. So how, because of the provisions of the ordinance, if, Mayor, I'm going to pick on you just because you're in charge of taking it, right? So let's say Mayor gets a report, right, and there's egregious stuff in it, and he says, you know, I don't want to do anything with this. Like, there's plenty of evidence that something has gone wrong, laws have been broken, but oh well. And he throws in the trash or whatever for dramatic effect. That is a violation of upholding his responsibility to the city. And that is something that can be, an ethics complaint can be filed for. And so I went back and forth as to whether to make that super explicit. But my opinion is that based on what constitutes an ethics complaint as it's left, it gives that safeguard that if we know that something egregious has happened, and we know that the people or person responsible for investigating the egregious behavior has sat on it or hasn't done anything, then they can have an ethics complaint filed against them to the other party for it. So does that address, you had a question about city attorney. City attorney only assists in advising process. So the intention is that this becomes so clear that the city attorney doesn't need to have a role in it per se, because it can get kind of messy. Because we're not policy decision makers, and a lot of this ends up being policy. And so having us removed and having us only work on the legal piece, which is process and due process, is highly advisable, and it just makes us more comfortable.
Right, I agree. It was more kind of a timing question.
Sure.
Than it
Yeah.
was.
Yeah, if we want to have, I know that we had talked about a form last time.
Yeah.
I didn't think that it made sense to have a form codified.
Right.
So my thought is that we hammer down our particulars here, and then we can generate a form from the particulars that we have created. So if you would prefer more like hard dates, or if council would prefer like harder time periods, like this many days, this many days, this many days, we can do that. Though I do hesitate in some regard because we have holidays, right? We have people get sick, things happen, right? And so giving some flexibility, I think, is helpful so that we're not then running afoul of our own ordinances because of circumstances outside of control.
I guess my suggestion was going to be like 5 days. It's enough time to get it in front of 2 people and look into it?
It's
No?
not. No, and
No,
I'll
it's
talk
not?
about it here
Okay.
in just a second.
Mm-hmm.
I had a question, Mayor.
Yeah.
So, I want to read this. I got to ask. So I see it says the council member, I'm looking at the highlighted up there, it says the council member subject to the report shall be notified within whatever amount of days. And then it says the council member may provide a written statement to address the report. So my question on this is, these sound like these are two different days, though. There's a day they need to be notified, but then what is the day for them to provide this report? Is it, because when I read this, I feel, it sounds to me like we're just giving them a certain amount of days to be notified, but we're not telling them when do we get in the report? Is it the same time frame?
Sure, yeah, that's a great question. I think that's something that we can address to Councilperson Swinton's point, to have kind of more clearly set day periods, because we don't want this to be, you know, at length. We don't want whomever is subject to it to try and stall for whatever purposes, so to kind of like close that time period. Council, I also have it, which it was already in the ordinance that as it was, that the council person subject has the ability to respond in writing to the findings as well. So we could add a time period for that before it goes to council.
So we're looking at two different timeframes. And obviously, if we're giving somebody, if we're looking at a timeframe for notified, then we're going to need to come up with a timeframe from once they're notified to provide a statement.
Sure.
Right?
Yes. We can strike that part. That was something that I added for purposes of trying to, you know, meet the due process concerns that that had been raised to me. And I will be clear, due process is not required for this necessarily.
That was my next question. This is more of a civil administrative.
This is more administrative, right? And so these are our internal policies and how the board and the body wants to govern itself. And so that's why the city attorney, other than assisting with drafting the ordinance, really stays out of it, outside of advising on process.
Okay.
Again, just kind of more process things, right?
Yes.
So,
Yes, ma'am.
To be fair as well, on the other end, when, you know, what should the citizen expect, right? When they can.
Sure. Yes, ma'am.
When they submit a complaint, and how is that addressed? When is that addressed? And how are the results communicated to them?
Sure.
Right?
Yes,
So
ma'am.
if like the mayor chooses not to open an inquiry, how is that communicated to the citizen? You know, if the mayor's found that there's nothing that's relevant and needs to go forward, how is that communicated to the citizen?
Sure. So yes, a lot of these are going to be policy considerations.
Okay.
And so while I can opine and give you some of my thoughts and kind of collaborate with you, fundamentally this comes down to what y'all feel is most appropriate for the city. I don't know, Ryan, if you have any feedback or comments.
There was, when we did one in my prior city that wasn't sort of a notification of certain days. They had the ability to submit something online, but there wasn't a time frame actually put down. So I'm not going to guess what the day mayor has on here, but the Councilman Reyes is right. There's got to be a certain amount of time for that person to respond to.
Certainly.
And then an end date to get back to the initial complainant. So I think all that's got to be a mechanism built into here first and foremost.
Yeah, certainly.
And I know historically from the contracts that I've seen, you can do it for arbitration purposes. Usually the 21 to 30 days is kind of the time frame that I see on something like this. Again, I don't know what the mayor has for the time frame, but that's what I'm looking at. It's 21 days to 30 days. So that's kind of the standard on something like this. But I also wanted to ask you, when you were doing this, if you had any ability to reach out to other cities to see if whatever timeframes they're using
I
in
have
something like this. So.
Sure. So I have looked at a few other ordinances, and they just kind of vary. Some of them don't have time frames. Some of them are actually more vague than we have here. And to another one of my cities, I've actually provided this as kind of a jump off point for conversation. So it really just varies, like to Ryan's point. Yeah, so I apologize for not having a more concrete answer and kind of skating that, but it really is up to the body.
Yeah, and I think, Mayor, not to overdo it on this, but I think notifying the council member to me would be sooner than them providing a statement. That's the way I look
Sure.
at it, right? Because you don't want to do it the other way around but that's just my opinion on that, so.
Certainly.
Okay, since I was involved in this previous one, I'll give my thoughts. Dead minimum 14 days. Just if you run a timeline in your head, and I know some people are probably going to go, that's way too long, it's way too long. Not one of us up here is a full-time employee except for that gentleman right there. By the time we get the complaint in, he gets the word out to the mayor. The mayor wants to have somebody else involved in it usually, so he's going to call the mayor pro tem or another council person. You're going to be 7 days after it's been turned in before you even get really going talking about it. And then you're going to want council to be there, so we're going to call you or Charlie or somebody at your firm, and we're going to sit down and we're going to have a meeting whenever we can work that out to talk about the way forward with it. So I'm thinking 14 to 21 days, something in that time frame is about what it's going to take. That's if you really push the envelope on it. Once that first meeting has been done and, you know, one decides to do an inquiry or we've actually looked into it and decided we're going to go talk to the person with it, then you meet with the council person. I'm looking with 21 days, it's kind of what I'm leaning towards here. Tell them what happened and give them, 2 weeks to respond. So we're looking at a 5 or 6 week process to get through this if there's an ethics complaint. That's kind of my thought process on it. So it's not going to go in 48 hours. It's not going to go in 5 days. It just can't. We can't respond that quick.
Well, one comment I have is we need to be sure we say either 5 working days or 7 calendar days. Or 10 working days, you know, or 14 calendar days, something like that. Be sure we clarify how you count the days. So I want to be sure we do that. Count the days, and be sure we specify how do you count them.
And are we just talking inquiry or investigation as all
We're
of
still
this
at
process?
inquiry.
We're still at inquiry.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
we're talking about 5, 6 weeks till we get to done. That includes investigation? Okay, so no.
No.
No,
Yeah.
doesn't include the investigation. That's just the inquiry. So with the recent experience that we all know we addressed last month in our council meeting, first of all, the city takes an ethics complaint extremely seriously, regardless of who it's from or who it's on. An elected official, a city official, anybody. We take it very seriously. When we received the complaint, we talked about it, myself and Nancy, and got out our ethics ordinance and said, and read through it, what we currently have, and it is very vague. So there's no timelines, there's nothing in there. And the next week, the next Monday, we received it on a Wednesday night. The next Monday, we turned it over to Natalie, and said, hey, we received this, and we're looking for your advice. You dug out the ethics ordinance, started going through that with your knowledge. And by the time we figured out to schedule a meeting between myself, Natalie, Nancy, Todd, and Charlie Zeck, that's how seriously we were treating this inquiry. We were 3 weeks into the process to schedule 6 people 5 people to be there with all the different schedules. And it was extremely difficult. I ended up taking leave from work to be able to accommodate it. So that's how seriously we took it. And then we met for 2 hours after we had reviewed everything, came up with a good plan going forward. And then the next process, it took a little while, was informing the member of the in person of the complaint, and then making sure that the member was knowledgeable on what we came out with in the meeting, and I briefed everybody on that last month, and to make sure that how it was going to be handled. So putting a timeline on it, I agree with it. 48 hours isn't way too quick. I understand where you're going, but 5 days would be just moving. I think 21 calendar days is a doable thing. That's
Yeah.
the number I kind of
So-
come up with.
So what I'm hearing is that, kind of summarizing everybody's comments, is that we want a handful of different dates. We want, first and foremost, a time period for which the inquiry itself should be completed by. And then inside of that, we're looking at a time period to notify the council person, to allow the council person to respond in written form, and a time to notify the citizen. To me, that's what I'm hearing, and so we're going to need dates on each of those. It'd probably be easiest to pick the the inquiry time period first, and then pick our dates in between. Does everybody follow what I said? Okay, yeah. So I would pick the beginning to end, and then we can pick the dates in between. When I say we, I mean y'all.
Well, I got to say, for the whole process, we're talking
For
from the
inquiry.
beginning to the end.
Of the
whi-
inquiry,
Which is
yes.
actually in letting the citizen know the outcome as well is probably going to be around 90 days, I would think. I would think about, anywhere from 60 to 90, I would think, based on everybody's schedule and getting stuff back. So that's kind of what I'm looking at as the overall. We're talking from the beginning to the very end.
You got to throw in a council meeting in there too, because the council's going to decide after the inquiry and it's briefed, either an open or closed session. The council would provide the direction on, hey, are you going to open up an investigation, which is
Yes.
going to take
Extra time,
a long
yes.
time.
For that, I have the inquiry section set up such that once the inquiry is complete, it goes on the next regular council meeting. They shall, at the next regular council meeting, at the conclusion of that report.
With all of that, there's no way this is going faster than 2 months. 60 calendar days, no way. And then if an investigation opens, I think there's going to have to be a statement in there about how long the investigation is going to take. And the problem with that is that could be it could be done in a day or it could be done in 6 months. That's
Yeah,
gonna be the hard
that
part.
could be a hard one to put a real timeline on. Because as it's kind of contemplated, the council can authorize independent investigation. And so, then we're beholden to whomever the council decides to put on that investigation.
And we probably shouldn't limit to a regular meeting because it could be any called special meeting as well.
Yeah, it
That
just has to
could
be
happen too, yeah.
a meeting of the council. It can be a special
Okay.
meeting. So I don't think putting a timeline on the decision to proceed the whole thing, I don't know that that's the right thing to do. I do think that saying, throw it out there, the city manager and the mayor and/or pro tem have 21 calendar days from the time they get the complaint to make sure that the member is briefed on the complaint. You can meet that timeline. You can get everybody together in 21 calendar days. We barely did it, but we did it. So, and then 2 weeks, 14 calendar days sounds good. Just throwing that out there for the member, the subject of the complaint, to formally come back with something written or talk to somebody about it. And then you can brief it at a special meeting or a regular council meeting, an open or closed session.
Sure, yeah, I can make that revision.
So, but putting a timeline on
whole thing.
the whole thing, I don't think that that's what we should do.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think those are the dates.
Yeah, those would work for me. Just based on experience, that is That's what worked. So, and we took it extremely seriously, and we moved quickly to bring it to a conclusion. So, and as you all know, we briefed it in open session. So,
And then the
to
last.
be transparent.
The last date on that is, or maybe not date, but just how you would like to notify the complainant.
I mean, it was briefed in open session, and we came to conclusions in open session that there was nothing to move forward. There was no reason to open an inquiry, but how was that communicated to the citizen?
Yeah, so in this case, it wasn't. So I used the fact that we did it in open session as the communication from the city. So that's how I chose to do it this time.
Right.
There was one email between myself and who submitted the complaint in, I don't know, about the three-week timeline, asking for status, and all I could say at that time, because we were investigating it, was, we're looking into it, is, hey, we've received it, and we are, that's all I can say. We've received it, and we are proceeding with it, something to that effect. So, and that was all I could say at the time. So, and they were appreciative of, hey, thanks for at least telling me that, so. But probably coming in here and saying, hey, this, I mean, the best thing to do would be a phone call or in-person meeting, which a year ago we did. So, and again, that wasn't, there's not a formal process, but that's what we did a year ago. It's 2 separate meetings. So, they'll probably, I don't know, notice will be given back to the, whoever issued the complaint by the mayor and or the pro tem at the completion of the inquiry.
It could be either orally, verbally, or in writing.
Yeah, we can leave that to the discretion of how I've kind of phrased it as the parties responsible for leading the inquiry. So we can put it to their discretion on how they decide to notify the complainant.
Yep. Those are good discussions.
So yeah, it will be a shall have a duty to notify.
Do we have time to notify?
It can be before it's discussed at the meeting. I'll make that sound a little nicer. Discussed at meeting. Okay. Does anyone have any other thoughts, comments about inquiry? Investigation is going to be quick, but I don't want to move on unless we're all
Question on the
comfortable.
inquiry, when you go,
Yes.
if we could go up to the top again of the
Sure.
the page. I know you had put up there, they may, actually, it's further up. It's going, I think it's on page 6, there it is. The council member may, so it's not going to be shall, it's going to be may. They may, so they have the option of writing a statement or not? Is that what we're?
I wrote it as may because, I mean, the council person may not have anything to add, right? And I didn't want to.
They can't just write that, though, on a sheet of paper, nothing to add?
I mean, that's up to y'all. I just didn't want to make an affirmative duty that it requires them to do something. But if y'all prefer it to be a shall, I can certainly
You could
change
leave it
that.
as has the option to respond.
Okay. It's very good. Thank you.
Hey, go back to the telling or informing the whoever files the complaint about what we're doing before the council meeting.
Yeah.
I don't agree with that.
Okay.
Because they do need to be informed, but I'm not going to say, as the mayor, I'm not going to come back and say what we're planning to do before I have told council what we're doing. So, thank you, yeah,
Okay, so it can just be a duty to notify.
yes. After,
Decision
I would
has
say
been
after
Council has been notified.
council has been notified
And a decision?
and a decision has been made.
Well,
That I
they
like.
wouldn't be able, council won't be able to make a decision until at a meeting.
Right.
So, okay,
So it'd be after the council is after a meeting where council is notified and a decision has been made, then whoever filed the complaint will be notified.
Okay, fantastic. All right, any other thoughts, comments, ideas for inquiry? Okay, perfect. I will clean up as we've discussed. So then, for investigation, the kind of substantive part of this is that I just made it clear that it's not part of the inquiry. So once it comes to council to make the decision, council has the authority to authorize a formal investigation. As we briefly touched on, that would typically be by an outside party. And so that is going to unfortunately take the time it takes, because you're going to want to find someone that you would like to do it. You're going to go through their process. Depending on what's been alleged, it could take a little bit of time. It could take a lot of time, depending on witness availability, so on and so forth. If you're going to pay for something, you're going to want something pretty robust. So, putting a hard timeline on that, I would advise against. But it still does include all of the same consequences or outcomes that your prior ordinance had. So I didn't touch any of that. All of that still works. Just as a reminder for us all, this is the teeth that you can have if it's not in your charter. So this is pretty much as strong a consequence or outcome or result that can exist simply through an ordinance.
Council, any comments regarding that?
Appreciate that comment.
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, we should be ready to go in May?
Yeah,
with
certainly.
this? Okay.
I think if anything, it might be, if we have any minor adjustments or cleanup, those are certainly things that, since we've had a quite robust discussion, I would say, between the two meetings, that we could do amendments from the dais if even required.
Okay. Please.
We haven't discussed agenda on here, and this is in this one or the decorum one? I
That's
can't
in
remember.
decorum.
Oh, okay.
Yes, ma'am. So that's a process.
Okay,
Mhm.
okay. So
it's
we need to at some point address that. I mean, I know Ryan, as the new city manager, has some ideas about how to make our agenda more efficient.
Mhm.
And, a new mayor may also have some ideas
Sure.
as well. So,
Sure.
I mean, I think we hold off on working on that one a little bit till it's
On the decorum?
on the agenda part of the
Yeah,
decorum.
Sure. We can certainly do that, and we can update, and we can have a different discussion or a different discussion once we've had Ryan come in and whomever may be mayor.
I think ultimately, as far as these documents, we'll cross Ts, dot the Is. Marissa and I will work with Natalie, get this revised. Hopefully we get it out to y'all sooner so y'all can take a look at it before the next council meeting so that you are good. This should be a document that is reviewed annually by council, restated, and possibly taken action on, improved upon year to year. So I think other things can be added as we move forward, like an agenda process.
I'd like us to stick with our goal of having this done before the new council gets in. And then it can be obviously amended depending on who's sitting in this seat and what they and
Certainly.
Ryan and the rest of the council want to do. So I like to stick with it, the timeline. And if Ryan and Natalie, you guys can make sure, and Marissa, get council as soon as possible, what we have to provide inputs, but I think it's a good goal to get it done in May.
Sure.
Questions? Okay.
We'll try to get that out as soon as possible so you have enough time to review.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Good discussions. Moving on to item number 9D, resolution number 53204-2025, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Garden Ridge, Texas, approving fiscal year 2025 general fund budget amendment number 1 for the period of October 1, 2024 through September 30th, 2025. Ms. Robin, your job is never done. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor. So we have the amendment for our general fund attached, and without just completely rereading my memo that I included, just to touch on the largest changes, which were on our capital expenditures page, which Hank already mentioned in his engineering report, thankfully. We have that overlay work on Bat Cave. That was adding $476,000 to our budget to kind of match what the county's doing on Bat Cave. We also have $50,000 that we're adding for 2 shade canopies over our park playgrounds, and just a couple of other capital expenditures. I mean, most of the projects are remaining as is. Our community center project is still ongoing. Vista Ridge tie-in project still ongoing, so those really didn't change anything. And I guess I just, if you have any questions.
Council, I know you guys have all read the budget amendment. And do you have any comments? We'll start on my left this time for Robin.
No, sir, I have no comments. Thank you, Robin.
Todd, Jesse?
Where are the canopies going?
Over the park playgrounds.
The
So
park
there's
playground
those-
where the,
The
okay.
two, yeah, the two
Okay.
playgrounds separate.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yes.
That was a recommendation from a resident very close to the park about, hey, we live in San Antonio area, Garden Ridge, Texas, and it's hot. It's actually a really, really good idea. And so Stephen has gone out and sought some bids and did a good job with that, so thanks. Did I answer your question?
Yes, sir.
Okay, cool. So, Kelly? Okay.
I think the biggest takeaway on this is, again, that it's using 1.5 million from reserves. We'll decrease our months of reserves from 18 months to 10 months. With the proposed amendment, the general fund budget remains stable and positive, efficiently supporting city services, including the need for capital projects throughout the city. Just read the
Okay.
part.
Marissa, do we need a special budgetary motion or
You need
vote?
a motion to approve the resolution that is in front of you.
Okay. Council, if there's no further discussion, can I get a motion to approve?
I move to approve resolution number 532-042025, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Garden Ridge, Texas, approving fiscal year 2025 general fund budget amendment, number 1 for the period of October 1st, 2024 through September 30, 2025.
Outstanding. We have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion to approve and a second. Any further discussion?
No.
Ryan?
Mayor, I just want to say Robin did a great job on this, and to walk in last week on day 3 or 4 and said, we're going to do a budget amendment, I said, absolutely. But she worked with all the departments to fine tune these numbers, and I appreciate her work on this.
Nice job. Thank you, Ryan. All right. Any further discussion? Call to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the budget amendment passes. Good job, Robin. The floor is still yours. I'll introduce it. Resolution number 533-04-2025, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Garden Ridge, Texas, approving fiscal year 2025 Water Company Operation and Maintenance Fund Budget Amendment Number 1 for the period of October 1, 2024 through September 30th, 2025. Robin?
Thank you, Mayor. Again, water fund is even more just fine-tuning numbers based on our costs of actual in a lot of these categories, and then year-to-date actual and projected need for water. The largest capital expenditure projects are remaining unchanged. I know, again, Hank touched on the ground storage tank rehab project. That's still remaining in there for $240,000, and the Vista Ridge tie-in project of $867,000. This budget, just tweaking, is going to put into reserves $35,368 and leave us with 7 months of reserves. So that's, any questions?
Thank you, Robin. Council, starting on my right. questions for this one? No? Brian, your mic is on? You
No, sir.
good?
Yes, sir, good, thank you.
All right. If there's no further discussion, can I get a motion to approve?
I
Just
make a
like Lisa
motion
did.
to approve resolution number 533-042025, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Garden Ridge, Texas, approving fiscal year 2025 Water Company Operation and Maintenance Fund Budget Amendment 1 for the period of October 1st, 2024 through September 30th, 2025.
We have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion to approve in a second. Any further discussion? Call to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, great job. Thanks, council. Thank you, Robin. Thank you, Ryan, and department heads. Great job. All right, moving on to 9F, budget reserves, reserve policy. So this is something that Lisa brought up to be on this month's agenda, and we had discussed it last summer and fall during the budget process. We decided back then as a council to not adopt a reserve policy at the time for council, but to readdress it in budget season. So Lisa, thanks for bringing this to putting it on the agenda, and it sparked a lot of great discussion over the last 2 weeks specifically. But you wanted it on the agenda, so before I go, any thoughts, your comments before we talk about it?
No, I'm just happy we're addressing it. I think we can use our reserves in a more productive manner, get some things done, capital improvement wise. So I'm real happy, and I've had some, preliminary discussions with Ryan and his views on things, and I'm glad we're bringing it back to the table.
Thanks. So, in the discussions that we've had in the last 2 weeks, myself, Ryan, I know he's talked to council members like Lisa, I know he's talked to Jesse and Kelly specifically about this, and then talking with Robin about it. We are still of the, I'll say my opinion, I'm still of the mindset that setting a cap on our reserves is not a good idea. And that because why would you say, hey, I'm only going to put this much money in the bank when I have this much money and be forced to spend it? That's not fiscally responsible. So I still contend with that. I do think that there could be merit in setting a goal to never get below a certain amount of reserves, and to always, as we budget responsibly, to always go, hey, we, as a policy, we need to stay at or above 6 months reserves. I'm just throwing that number out there. Some cities do use that. We are used to, we've had years where we've been below 6 months reserves. And we've had years like the last year when we've been well above 6 months reserves. So there may be some merit there for some discussion. Not necessarily action tonight, obviously, but the capital improvements plan or project, CIP, Ryan has experience with that, and I think that's a worthy discussion, as Lisa mentioned, and I think everyone would be nod their head that's talked to Ryan about it already, to have an ongoing list of capital improvement projects for the city of Garden Ridge. And that list is updated all the time, and we go, actually, I'm stealing, and I'm not going to anymore. So Ryan, you've got the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. In reviewing this and, a type of policy, you're right, there's probably a minimum we don't want to fall below. Most cities, the best practice is 3 to 5 months in this case. But I think ultimately building a comprehensive capital plan that ties year-to-year expenditures from the reserve is probably the best strategic way to go for the city, but also doesn't allow us to fall below that threshold. So I think ultimately putting this plan together, eventually bringing it back and figuring out how much each year the capital projects are going to cost us each year, and then ensuring we don't fall below that possibly 6 months, maybe 7 months from that standpoint. I think it's important, I know that residents earlier talked about, economic factors and so on. And that's the reason you don't fall below a certain amount, because the reserves for emergency purposes and so on, so you can operate. But I think ultimately, as we work towards, like Nicholas and the retail, we move through that portion, that we'll grow that sales tax base, right? That's just another tool to add to our reserves moving forward as well. And it solely doesn't depend us on the revenue for ad valorem either. It kind of offsets that as well. But ultimately, I think, there should be a threshold for emergency purposes that we don't fall below, but strategically prioritize capital projects each year by utilizing some of that reserve moving forward. Because at some point, there may be where we can't use reserve, we may have to issue certificates of obligation or borrow to get a project done down the road. So.
That's great. And to be clear, we already do this. We just haven't codified it in a policy and set numbers to it. So, for example, tying into the Vista Ridge pipeline, we've already appropriated those funds out of our reserves to do it without having to seek a bond. So we're already doing that, but I think it's a really good idea that we codify it and have an ongoing list. And that list includes not just, hey, it'd be nice to tie into the Vista Ridge pipeline. Hey, it'd be nice to do some improvements down Bensel Road or Park Lane, the road out that drives by the quarry. Not just that, but have numbers to it. So we've worked with Stephen, we've worked with Hank to seek bids for it, or as far as we can go without committing funds, so we know what those numbers are. And the other thing, as Ryan alluded to, we can do with that is some capital improvement projects can't be paid out of reserves. We just don't have enough. We have to go and seek a bond. And that's okay, but we can offset the amount that we borrow. Let's just say, for instance, we need to borrow, a project is $33 million. Nope, we don't have $33 million to do that project. We're going to seek a bond. But if we do have $1 million to put towards it, now we're borrowing less money. That's less interest over time and less money paid out. It also increases having reserves and a robust, a fiscally responsible, lean, but good budget, and having plenty of reserves. That also increases our leverage with brokers to seek a loan, seek a bond. So, Ryan, anything else?
No, I think you covered everything, Mayor. And I think, again, as you alluded to there about, if we have to go out for a rating and those kind of things, it's not necessarily frowned upon that we've taken, money each year for capital projects out moving forward.
So I think I've spoken enough here before we continue on. So council, any other comments or thoughts with this? I think what I'd like to do is recommend that we say, Ryan, Robin, go, continue those discussions with council, but go with it. And as we go through budget season that starts here in June, come up with a capital improvements plan, project plan, and come back to council with it when you think it is ready for prime time. And keep the discussions going, just like you're doing, Ryan, individually with other council members. Council, does that sound good? Yeah. Okay, cool. Ryan, anything?
No, sir.
Robin? You happy? You're smiling. Okay, cool. Nods out there in the audience, so hopefully people are happy with that. All right, great. Another discussion. On to 9G, designation of authorized signers for financial accounts held by the city of Garden Ridge. We have a new city manager. Therefore, we need new signatures on all these accounts. Marissa, do you want to address this specifically?
Just to make sure that we cover all of our bases, I wrote out 2 separate motions for somebody to just read. It would be easier that way. There's 2 different things we're trying to accomplish here. One's with First United Bank and another one is with our credit card accounts. And just to make sure we have everything covered, it's probably easiest just to read those. Mayor has them.
Okay, we're going to go through this tonight, and then 4 of you are going to go through this again in June to redo it, because you're going to have a new mayor. So who wants to make the first motion, and I will just turn it over to you. This one right here. That one.
I make a motion to designate Mayor Rob Erickson, Mayor Pro Tem Todd Arborson, City Manager Ryan Rapley, City Secretary Marissa Spencer, and Chief of Police Ryan Ehrenberg to Everhart, to authorize signatures for the financial account to be held by the City of Garden Ridge at First United Bank.
We have a motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on that one? Call to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Great. Lisa, second one.
I make a motion to designate City Manager Ryan Rappelet as the authorized business officer for credit card accounts held by the City of Garden Ridge.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Kelly. Kelly wins. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Call it to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Great. Now we know what to do in June again. All right, Marissa, all that worked? Good? All right. That concludes item number 9. On to item number 10, city updates for city council projects. Lisa and Todd for APO stuff.
I'll keep this kind of short. We got some good press coverage about our hiring of the Corey consultant. Had News 4 San Antonio interview with her, and then a nice article in the New Braunfels Herald. We have just started to work on, Ryan was going to reach out to Jill, and she provided a document that the guidelines for setting up the council that the Kerr County Commissioners Court approved, which will be a good document for us to base our new council on. We also toured the quarry, and Jill has written a report about that and submitted it to, I think you got it, Ryan, or no? I know I got it with correction.
Yeah, I didn't get that particular, but I will follow up with
Okay,
her.
perfect. I had a few corrections that I needed her to make, and then she was going to send it on. But, and there, again, went over, I was at the Capitol for this training, went over some of the APO legislation that's coming along. It's all, pretty, par for the course. There are some things that would give what they call as sensitive receptors the ability to request hearings, whether, right now you can only request a hearing if you live within, 440 yards within a quarry or a rock crusher or a concrete batch plant. They're trying to expand that. I don't think it'll go anywhere. I'll wrap it up with that, make it quick.
Okay, Todd, anything to add? Okay. Thanks, Lisa. On to mitigation of growth and encroachment impacts of Garden Ridge. I don't have anything. Do you have something to add?
Yeah, a few updates. I continue to hear from people in the county that are outside, or people in the city limits that are being impacted by things out in the county. I got a call and a video from some people in Wildwind. There was some big mulching machine behind them just dumping mulch and all kinds of dirt and dust that they filmed in their front yard. I was able to reach out directly to George Ortiz, who is our regional director for TCEQ, and he made it a priority and reached out to the citizen and started working on that. I've got some recent concerns about the truck traffic outside of Enchanted Bluff. Our citizens are always concerned about, leaving their neighborhoods from 2252 or 3009. So some parents, and I did this as well, try to route the kids down Bat Cave to turn right onto 3009 to get to the high school, because it's hard to turn left onto 3009. But I heard word that there were some truck issues there, trucks driving in the middle of the road. Reached out to Laddie Denton. He responded. He's the developer over there and is getting his management guys on top of that. I have no new updates on the proposed Valero, right outside our city limits by Schoenthal. There's some new ETJ laws, out there that are pending. One of them removes the authorities of the city to apply any municipal ordinances in ETJ. They take it all away. Another eliminates municipal authorities and ETJs and doesn't transfer it to counties even. Again, sort of all kinds of mess going on with ETJ stuff at the Capitol. I'm not hopeful that any of it's gonna resolve in city's favors, in the city's favor. So that's my spiel there.
That ETJ was one of the two NEP Northeast Partnership priorities for the 89th legislature, and it's not looking good. No.
I have received some comments about the encroachment as far as the new developments, as far as their water usage. And just for information, all those new developments are using Saul's water. We're not using, any of our aquifers, so Saul's water.
Via the Vista Ridge pipeline.
Correct.
Yeah. Go ahead. Oh, no. Oh, okay. Okay. On to economic development. Kelly. Then Lisa.
Well, we had a great meeting today. Nick, thanks for coming and hanging out with us all day. I think you've been here since, 3 o'clock today? Yeah. So thank you. So we had a great meeting with some of our landowners and coming up with a plan on, and a plan on connecting them with developers we're already talking to. And so we'll keep you all posted on that. But it was more of a meet and greet with Retail Coach, and they were excited. I think the meeting went great. It's very positive. Very positive. Concerns we're throwing out from the past, and then, now we're going to focus on the future. So, and then just a small thing. I was at the Tri-County Mixer last week, and one of the partners of a pretty large ER urgent care, very interested in coming here. So I think we'll keep you up to date on that. That's it.
All right, awesome. That concludes item number 10. Item number 11, discussion of future agenda items. Anybody starting on my left have anything you want on?
No, sir. No.
May's agenda? Todd, Jesse, Lisa?
I'd like to get legislation on the agenda.
Okay. Done. Kelly? All right. On to item number 12, citizen comment period. You don't have to have signed up for this, but hi, Krista. You've got 2 minutes. We can't comment on what you're saying, but we are taking notes and listening. Thank you. If you would just introduce yourself, thanks.
Krista Hunter, 21919 Cristobal Drive. I'm just going to read this, okay? I'm concerned that a citizen would come forth to publicly disparage a member of this council alleging an outstanding ethics inquiry, especially when the original complaint was in fact reviewed by council and found to be unsubstantiated and without merit. I can only conclude that this earlier statement was based solely on personal animosity or was a gross attempt to influence the upcoming mayoral election in a manner beneath the dignity of this proceeding and our city at large. That's all I have to say. Thanks.
Thank you, Krista. Anybody else? Definitely not your first rodeo with this one. It's always good to see you, Rod.
Thank
Floor
you,
is yours,
Mayor
sir.
Jushawn. Council, thank you for the opportunity. Rod Chamberlain, 8807 Cherokee Path. Garden Ridge, Texas. I just want to go ahead and say thank you for the retail coach. It was a good presentation. I do have a question about how many people responded to the survey, and I'd like to also mention or recommend or suggest possibly reaching out to the HOA associations, to the presidents, and seeing if we can get direct contact with him and possibly have him talk to the people at the HOAs. Thank you very much. Appreciate the time.
Thanks, Rod. 217, by the way. Anybody else? Okay, thanks. That'll conclude item number 12 for citizen comments. Moving on to item number 13, reports and comments from mayor and city council members. Starting on my right.
You know I have stuff on this one. All right, so some exciting things with the Tri-County Chamber. We've hired Becky Babcock as the new director. The board's slowly weaning her into things, but she's taken off running. So she's grabbed the bull by the horns, and she's out there already. So had a great mixer last week at the Reserve at 1863. Yeah, I was gonna thank him. Yeah, and thank you, Ryan, for attending that with me. It was a great turnout for being stormy and rainy out. I didn't expect many people to be there, and I guess they were thirsty. So, number 3, luncheon, April 8th, Hilton Garden Inn in Live Oak. It's April 8th, 11 a.m. And golf tournament, April 16th at TPC, which is the Marriott, and which is an amazing course, by the way. And mixer, April 24th at the Stone Terrace Gastro Pub, 5:30 p.m. And that is all I have.
Does your golf team include Ryan? I know he golfs.
We're working those details out.
That's good. Lisa?
He's so popular, he got invited by other people.
I
so,
know, right?
Yeah.
Just quickly, Hill Country Alliance, as I mentioned earlier, I attended a county-to-county workshop up at the Capitol and then visited with Representative Isaac's chief of staff and Sonia Chapa at Senator Campbell's office. And I forgot to mention this under water, but I thought this was a good bill that actually Carrie Isaac is working on. There's 3 of them that kind of align: House Bill 539, House Bill 517, and Senate Bill 542. And they limit the authorities of HOAs to fine residents for, dead grass, discolored turf, all that kind of stuff due to drought, and I think that makes perfect sense. I've had more than one citizen talk to me about that. At some point, the cost that they were forced to replace their lawn, they kept getting complaints, and doing that is just in complete contrast to the conservation goals that we're trying to follow. So I think that one has some traction too. So I certainly thank Terry Franks for working on that with Carrie Isaac.
Awesome. Jesse?
I got quite a few here, I'd say. Just a reminder, 100 Club annual dinner is next week, next Tuesday, April the 8th, at New Braunfels Civic Center. If you're interested in going, go online at the 100 Club Comal County webpage. You don't have to be a member of the 100 Club to go to the dinner. Okay, and April 18th is the McDonald's 100 Club Good Friday fundraiser from 11 to 2 at all McDonald's in Comal County. The nearest one to us is the one on off 35 and 1103, and I'll be there. I think Peggy will be there too, and Judd Early will be at that one also at that day. A portion of the proceeds will go to the 100 Club. Comal ISD, I got a chance to participate with Read Across Comal ISD at the March at Comal Creek Elementary School. Read to 3 classes of kindergartens. It was fun. I enjoyed that. Citizen Police Academy Alumni Association, we welcomed all the graduates of the CPA class with complimentary membership for 2025. So we have new members on that. So they're all on the list now, so automatically members. That's all I have.
Thanks, Jesse. Todd?
Well, I'm just going to put a plug in for Kamel ISD if y'all aren't watching it, and this is for most of you out there in YouTube land. I'm trying to find something this school isn't good at. The girls soccer team is at region or semifinal for state. The swim team, one guy won the 50 and the 100 state. It just keeps piling up. It's really rather amazing. So I'm just going to keep encouraging people to go out and look at that high school because it's pretty amazing what they're doing. And I won't have a kid there much longer.
No, you won't. And we're trying to get Ryan's daughter there someday, so go Wolves.
Well, I will have two. I will have two coming up. And just to piggyback off of him, Mayor, yeah, they, looks like at the last board, they recognized more than 70 students during their March board meeting. And as Todd was stating, that from Davenport, they had a junior that was the UIW 4A swim state champion, both the 50 and the 100-yard freestyle. So congratulations to him. And they also had another one in wrestling from Smithson Valley that was recognized as a 5A state champion. The only other thing I wanted to say was just wanted to thank the Garnet Ridge Lions Club and Ray Price for that 52nd annual fish fry that we had a couple of weeks ago. It was a great fundraiser and great for the community. I just want to thank them that are out there listening. So thank you.
Thanks, Brian.
Can I add one more thing?
You bet.
I want to thank Brian. They wanted us to take part, the Tri-County Chamber asked us to take part in the interviews for the new, for our new director, and Brian stepped up. I couldn't do it, and Jesse couldn't do it, and so, Brian, thanks for stepping up and doing that for us.
Anytime, buddy. The honor was all mine. It was a lot of nice people that I got to meet. So, no, thank you for that opportunity. It was awesome. Thank you.
Thanks for remembering that, Kelly. That's great. Northeast Partnership Luncheon for April is a week from tomorrow. Love to have as many of you that are available to go. And then Families of Garden Ridge, our first pickup, there's Rod looking at me, is Saturday, 8 to 10, rain or shine. The only thing we would cancel for, so it'll be you and me and Linda out there, Rod, will be thunderstorms, obviously. So, what's that? Okay, great. Thank you. Again, everybody's welcome. We're going to clean up what we can of 2252 and then go down Door Lane, which happens to be a beer can depository these days. So, yeah. So we're going to go clean that up again.
Mayor, I had a question. Is
Please.
there a free mulch this week too? I forgot. I keep getting it mixed up. Is it this week?
Is
or?
it this week? It's this week. Yeah, it's Saturday as long as it lasts. Right up Municipal Parkway. Yep. You can go there after you come help pick up the trash. It's a great idea. Thanks for volunteering.
Yes, sir. Yes,
So
sir.
we have another one
That's
out there
about.
with us, Rod. So it's good. That's right. That's good. He will be. Okay. Council, we don't have an executive session tonight. I asked a couple times. I'm like, are you sure? So we're on to item number 14, adjournment. There being no further business, the city council regular meeting is adjourned
Mayor.
at, go.
Not to cut you off, Mayor. I think Ryan had something to add, sir.
Go.
Mayor, I'm sorry, I just wanted to say, I know this is my first meeting, and thank you very much. I know as we move forward, I look forward to working on many projects, but thank you for your trust and faith in me doing this job, so. And by the way, I've tried with my daughter, but the tennis coach at MAC has been scouting her since 6th grade, so I've tried.
Well, he can come coach at Davenport too. So
No, we love our tennis coach.
Be an assistant coach.
Yes.
at Davenport.
Thank you very much.
So we have a couple years before, before we have to, we'll get there. Go Wolves. As I was saying, there being, and Ryan, we're lucky to have you. So it's a pleasure to be working with you. Thank you for applying, and thank you for being willing to come here. So we are lucky to have you, and we're looking forward to the future. You're the right guy to be here. There being no further business, again, the City Council regular meeting is adjourned at 8:15 p.m. Happy Easter, happy April, everybody.